Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Just a minute. Welcome, welcome. All right. Hold on. We got people trying to message us while we're trying to come in. This what's be happening. Don't it feel good when I tell you that I love you? Yeah. Don't it feel good when you know my heart is true? Oh, it feels good when you tell me it's forever. Yes, it feels good waking up right next to you. You're my first love, a match made in heaven above. Baby, you complete me. With you, I see clearly. You are my destiny. And with you as well, I always meant to be. With you as always, where I'm meant to be. Yeah.
Hey, welcome to our second episode of the Love Hour with Self. I'm Tommy.
I'm Rosalind, and we are Self. So welcome tonight, guys. We do have a special guest in the house, our very first guest on the Love Hour. Woo, woo!
Hey.
It's Pastor Erica Fulton, right? So we're going to get her on and we're going to let her introduce herself. And while she does that, we're going to be adding people and everything. So anybody that's listening, that's looking on, thank you so much for coming in and being on the in the not was on the show, in the audience.
Right.
Like, share, start a watch party. We're going to be giving away a free gift on tonight. So you guys interact with us, let us know some messages out there to let us know that y'all are in, that y'all are watching us. Let me see if we got any comments. We got a hello. All right. Come on and interact.
Yes.
All righty. Let's see here. Beautiful. How you doing?
Hello.
I am blessed.
Welcome.
I am blessed. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. You are our very first guest on our show.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So you the first fruit. How
I'm
about
the
that?
first.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you time. Hello, we got a lot of people coming in. They're saying hello, 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 hello. Out there, you wanna say hello to some of the people, baby? See, we got
Hello.
Ella Chisholm, Kenya Green Williams. Hello.
hello, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Miss Erica, Pastor Erica Fulton.
Yes.
Welcome. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, as you all know, I'm Pastor Erica Fulton. I'm also what they call a licensed professional counselor intern, supervised by Robin Exum. I am a certified clinical anxiety treatment professional. I am a licensed chemical dependency counselor. I'm currently working on my doctorate in trauma, grief, and loss, my doctorate in professional counseling. I have 4 godchildren whom I love to the moon and back. I am also on the board of GettingSorted.com, which is an organization that helps families of children with special needs and the children themselves. Trying to think if I'm leaving anything out. I'm also an author, and I'm actually getting right now in the midst of another collaboration project. I'm so excited. I'm working on 2 of my own writing projects, and I am just grateful to God for absolutely everything He's doing in my life in this season. I have a passion for grief. I have burden for grief. That's just what God has laid upon my heart. And I just love God, and I love to use my gifts in a manner that helps free his people and serve his people. I like to think of
Wow.
myself as a triple threat. And I don't say that in an arrogant way, but I'm at a season in life where I'm learning how to own what I bring to the table and
Come
walk
on.
in it.
All right.
So I look as if I'm a triple threat. And when I wake up in the morning, the enemy says, "Oh no, she's awake again." So
Come on now. That's
Mm.
good. Yes, ma'am. We applaud you. We applaud
Yes.
you, Queen. I mean, you are a triple threat, and it's an awesome thing. You have a lot of accomplishments. You did some awesome, awesome things. And so we applaud you for that. I am very proud of you as a spiritual sister, a new spiritual sister. I'm excited to see what all God is going to do in and through your life. So, everybody, y'all show some warm, warm love to her
Yeah.
audience out there, ones that are listening in. I see. Hello, Reverend Erica. This is Kenya Green, and looking forward to the show. All right. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm going to put some of the comments up on the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Elder Chisholm.
Yeah. You
Blessings.
you piqued my interest with the LPC intern. I was getting ready to take my NCE test for my licensed professional counseling internship in addictions
oh,
as well.
oh
Yeah.
wow.
But
God
then
is amazing.
yes. No, the COVID hit, so right now I'm just in limbo. But I applaud you on the field. You have to have passion.
Yes,
Uh,
you have to. You have to. And in
yes.
my line of work, I work with troubled teenagers, and I've
Oh,
worked with
okay.
kids for over 14 years. But
That's
Wow.
this
beautiful.
population, in my job, we always laugh at one another. We say these are not Punky Brewster children, meaning these
Right.
folks have been they've been
Right.
through a lot, and a
Yeah.
lot of the behaviors are just maladaptive coping mechanisms, which we can all have them, even as adults. Sometimes we
Right.
Yes.
carry them from our family of origin, and we never
That's
questioned it
so
because we were
true.
just raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some
That's
some
true.
Yeah.
rules were implicit; they weren't necessarily said, but you kind of knew this is the rule of the house. You went to a
Most
Yeah.
therapist.
definitely.
You know you can take it to Jesus, and believe me, I love Jesus and my therapist because I thank God for both of them. They help
Come
me.
on.
Right. Yes.
Yes. And in our community, the African American community, you don't hear a lot about therapy. You don't hear a lot about, that it's becoming a little bit
Mhm.
more shared, but a lot of us come from the family of what happens in this house
Yeah.
stay.
Stays in this
You know what
house.
I'm saying? And so I thank God that we are getting a more away from that
Yes.
ideology and getting more to understanding that, like you say, yes, we thank the Lord for Jesus, but Jesus and medicine does work.
Oh,
Jesus
yes, it does.
does do work. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't lessen our faith because we, take medication or we go to a counselor or anything like that. That's very important that people understand that because there's a lot of illness in the black community
Yes.
and we don't deal with that. We say, oh, that's just our auntie, that's just our uncle, that's just what they is.
You know,
We
we
deal with
that's
that.
that cousin. You know, they
Come
a little
on.
Yeah.
off, and but we don't really address, and I say it from personal experience, having a
Yes.
cousin who deals with severe, so I understand counseling from the clinical perspective, but I know on the
Mhm.
personal side what it is like when family does not know how to adequately deal and address, doesn't know the interventions, because when people have particular disorders, you can't just talk to them any kind of way. You can't
You
just
better
pop
Right.
off
say that. That's
because
so
then you
true.
Yes.
trigger them. And I
That's
say
right.
this, and again, the kids I work with, mine have to be
Mhm.
on medication, or they literally cannot be at the facility, or they're
Wow.
literally, a lot of them are ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you have some adults with ADHD. You look at
Yes.
our
Yes.
prison population, some of them have
Come on.
ADHD, and
That's
it
right.
was left untreated. And so we see our some of our male population untreated ADHD in the prison system, And because
Mhm.
again, it goes back to that whole notion of, oh, well, he'll grow out of it. Oh, he's just hyper like that. Instead of knowing how
Mhm.
to adequately address it. And my passion for mental health that goes into churches, because I'm grateful my pastor is a therapist working on a PhD in clinical psychology. So he understands the spiritual and clinical dimension of how certain disorders show up, how they
Right.
manifest. And so I'm grateful
Mhm.
to sit under that type of ministry and have him as a father in ministry. So if I have a
Yes.
question on either side, I could be like, hey, this is what's going on with my client. I need some feedback,
Yes.
some advice. But when God says in his word, my people perish for lack of knowledge, I
Come on
believe
now.
that is as well as mental health. We
That's
have
so
to
true.
understand. And even working on my doctorate and going back and looking at our mental health system and looking at the history of how African Americans have been treated, there's a reason why there's a distrust. And the
Come on.
distrust
Come
is
on.
valid, but the landscape is changing because you have
Yes.
people that look like me, people that look like my pastor, that understand the cultural side, that there's some interventions that are just, you may have to modify them to make them culturally appropriate.
Right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That
And
is so true.
so, I deal with a lot of my teenagers are African American and Hispanic males. And I have some
Mhm.
females as well. And I may
Right.
have on occasion Caucasian, but most of them are either Hispanic or African American. And I'm bilingual too. I speak Spanish. So sometimes I have to use that in my job.
Go on then. That's what I'm talking
Okay.
about. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You want to? We have a few comments here.
Comments. Frat brother, hey Leon Smith, how you doing, fam?
Right here.
And Elder Chisholm, yes, Jesus and meds work together. We need to always use sound wisdom when we are dealing with mental illness, and our culture tends to hide it more than others.
And that's true. We, like she said, our culture does. It hides it more than. And I think, you said something that's really the key is, our people perish for the lack of knowledge. It's a lot of things that, yes, we pray and God shows us, but the wisdom is us in reading
Yeah.
and studying and understanding why certain things are the way they are. Chemical dependency is a real thing, and when people have chemical imbalance, that's a real thing. But if you don't
Yeah.
study, understand, and get an understanding of what it is that is going on, then you just go, it's generation after generation of untreated, and you know what I'm saying, pushes under the carpet. And then you got prisons, like you said, full of people that really need help.
Yeah.
And they're reacting out and they're doing things because they don't understand, what they got going on themselves. You know?
And they don't understand, why. Like, again, I go back to some of my teenagers. They'll say, I just got all this energy and I don't know what to do with it. So it
Wow.
comes out in behaviors. It comes out in, okay, tell me, you got this write up. Now tell me what happened. I had one who
Yeah.
said, well, I was just in the chapel and something had occurred and he got real mad. I said, oh, so you woke up in the chapel? He said, well, no, I woke up. Well, kind of walk me back through your day because I know you didn't wake up in the chapel. So
Come
at some
on.
point,
That's so
when
good.
did this become a day that was good for you? He's like, well, I woke up. I was doing good. And then it just all went downhill once I went into the chapel. And I said, well, from what you're saying to me, it sounds like it's not necessarily your circumstance, but the way you chose to react to it that made your day go downhill from there. So let's kind of look at some behaviors, and if we could just put our heads together, maybe we can come up with a couple of things you could do differently. And and I try not to pile it on top because you're dealing with children.
That's right.
Yes.
But
That's right.
that's why I said to him, "Oh, so you woke up in the chapel? Well, no. Okay, well, let's walk back through the day." Because the whole day
Yes,
couldn't have been bad. There had to be some part of the day that was good. So walk me through
exactly.
how the morning started off. And
All right.
I do that, or they vent and I just sit there and look at them. I go, "You finished?" They go,
I
"Okay."
love it.
And I said, well,
And
now can I just, sir, you said one particular thing that just kind of stuck out to me. So can we just stay with that thought for about 30 minutes? Now, if I know they have ADHD, I don't mind them having a fidget or something in their hand because that's the
Right.
only way they can stay focused. Because if not, they'll
Mhm.
start daydreaming.
Exactly.
And you have to have patience. Like I said, I have worked with children for over 14 years. I don't have any biologically, but I say, okay, God, you got a sense of humor.
Come on.
but
yeah,
Wow.
but I've
Wow.
worked with them. But this is a different capacity, and these are
Yeah.
trauma, grief, loss. So I deal with, because I'm co-occurring, meaning that when they come to me, they may be bipolar, have ADHD, may have
Wow.
depression, and then they have an addiction disorder. So we got to
My
deal with both
Lord.
sides of the coin.
Yes.
so
But they stay there 90 days, so I have enough time to be able to
Nice.
just
Okay.
work with them.
That is awesome.
so when you like me,
Get in the camera, baby.
oh, I'm sorry. When I was doing my internship, I had clients that I had to counsel, and my mental health is, I was addictions, but I had the mental health. And when I first started my schooling, my master's, it was first the DSM-4, then they went to the DSM-5.
Yeah.
And me, you look at the stuff, it's okay, if you had this, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm just talking in general, is this, so what's your input on them? DSM-5, do you go by the book,
I have it with me, and it's a reference. But
yes.
one of the
Oh,
things I do always do, and my kids used to call my room the war room because one
right.
day I saw some oil, and they go, "What's that?" I said,
Come
"Oh, that's
on.
my oil." And they kind of looked
Mhm.
at me like, "Yeah, that's my oil. That's what I put on my office." And I had one of them say to me one time, "Oh, I really like your war room," and I didn't catch what she meant at first. And I
Wow.
Right.
go, "Oh." Because sometimes I
Mm,
would shut my door and I say, you know what, I
Mm.
gotta shut everybody out right now, God, because I gotta be able to hear. How do you want me
yeah.
to work with these children? They've
Yeah.
been through X, Y, and Z. Because I'm a contract therapist. I
Okay.
started another job too, where one of mine will be dealing with group homes. Now that'll be an interesting journey. But I do believe the DSM-5 can be a good reference, but that's not always the only thing I go by because
Okay.
I'm doing a training right now with ADHD, and there's another disorder that can mirror it. It can look a little bit like it. So the training it helped me to go, oh, well, just because a child necessarily has impulsivity and they
Right.
daydreaming may not necessarily mean ADHD.
That's
And I
right.
can't recall the name of the disorder, but it's a little bit like it. It mirrors it, but you really have to
Mhm.
pay attention to the body language and again, because they're staying there, a lot of times I may talk with teachers or just other people they have contact with to kind of understand their day-to-day interaction, how they when they're out of class, how they when they're eating, how are they,
Mhm.
just their different temperaments and moods. I would say I go by it, but I do believe in prayer. And I do
Yes.
believe in my all and my DSM-5.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
put all
Oh yeah.
those together. It's a good
Yes.
reference book.
Oh yes,
Because
man, definitely.
when I'm doing my progress note, sometimes I have to draw from the DSM-5 if I'm saying, well,
Yeah.
this child is presenting with signs of PTSD. Well, then I got to
Oh,
be able to pull from that and back up what have they said to me or have I seen that may be looking like PTSD.
right. Yes,
Uh,
man.
Wow.
and
And I,
I did a practicum at a Star Hope, so I worked with men who had addictions. So that's just where God has allowed my experience to fall from.
yes.
Wow. It's amazing. You were saying something earlier about the young man that when he walked into the chapel, that's when he started, acting up or what have you. And I immediately thought about the fact that, as a minister, you deal with a lot of spiritual things,
Yeah,
and some of these things are demonic activity, which is just a whole nother show.
yeah,
That's why, again, therapy, all of these different things, go hand in hand. But you got to
yeah,
have spiritual basis so that you're
yeah,
covered, and you're not leaving there with all of them spirits that you
attached to you.
out. Come
Oh
on now,
yeah.
So that's
They'll
the
follow
thing
you
that
home if you. I
come on,
truly, I truly, most people don't, but I truly believe that's why I have my all in my office, and
come
that's
on,
why I do pray simply because when
exactly.
these kids, it's just they've been through so much. And one of
Yeah.
the things God showed me was that, every single time any of us go through trauma, it could leave a
Mhm.
tear in our soul. And that
Oh yeah.
that tear can become an entry point if we don't deal with it and bring it before
That's right.
God and let him heal whatever hurt that may be. And
That's so true.
I did a blog because I blog on my website, and
Yes.
I made a quote, and I was actually working on the blog, writing it, and God just gave it to me. And I said, I said the danger. I said an unchecked soul can become an invitation to evil. So I say
Come
that
on.
to say that
Come on.
anytime any of us deal with trauma or anything,
Yes.
any of those things, because they weigh into our soul. if we don't
Mm-hmm.
if we don't keep them covered in prayer, and I do believe alongside therapy and the Holy Spirit, those
Come on.
things it's like you have a wound, a little scratch, and you just ignore it, and you go to the doctor and
Yes,
they tell you, well, now you got an infection, and then
my Lord.
you say, well, wait a minute, I don't, you don't know what happened. And then someone might say, well, I know 3 months ago you had a little scratch on you, and now you didn't treat it. So that wound became an infection. And then before you
Mm-hmm.
go, the doctor may be like, well, man, we're going to have to give you something for your blood, or, you caught this just in time because this would have infected your entire bloodstream. So if this holds true on a natural level, what can occur on a spiritual level if
Exactly.
we do not check ourselves? And so that's why self-care, I tell
Yes.
anybody who's a counselor of any sort, you better have you
Mm-hmm.
pray with Jesus and get you a self-care plan.
Say that.
Yes.
Say
You have to have a place to be able to unload all that. You have to have a self-care plan. I don't care if it's you watch a funny movie, you have your
yes.
favorite Bible verses, you have some friends you can just
Mm-hmm.
talk to and unload on. So self-care just in life in itself is important. But anytime you're in ministry, you're dealing with counseling where you're pouring out, you got to find a way to replenish, because then the enemy will come in, or you can
Come,
just start
come
to
on.
experience burnout, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, like, you're losing passion. You don't want to get out of bed in the morning. Every little
Right.
thing somebody say to you, you just ready to
It'll get it.
to
You be
just
Yeah.
take
snapping.
off. They kind of look at you like, it's no problem. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to move your purse, and you just, you ready to fight. And I'm just using that as an example.
Right. Most definitely.
Chaplains. I use chaplains as an example. I did a chaplain residency. It was a level 1 trauma hospital. So,
Mm-hmm.
from, I'd say, for about 8-7 hours, you have no idea what you would not be dealing with.
Yes.
And I had to learn self-care to be, I don't want to use the word survive, but to be able to make it through till the end.
Come
I
on.
mean, we did 12-hour shifts on the weekends.
Right.
And I use that as an example to say, they told us from the get-go, you're going to make sure you do some self-care, because they said, we're telling y'all it's a lot. So anytime helping professions, chaplain, counselors, ministers, pastors,
Mm-hmm.
clergy, you have to find a way to be able to release and refuel. You can't just go work, 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 go, go, go. You got to
That's so
find a
true.
way to release that stuff.
Gotta have an outlet. Got to. This is
Burnout.
some good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
This is some good stuff. We got a lot of comments, and I want to make sure we acknowledge some of
Yeah.
these. We got a lot of good comments. This is good stuff because there's people watching. They tuned in for a relationship and marriage show, but God has given them some extra nuggets because there's somebody watching that's dealing with a child with ADHD. There's somebody watching and trying to figure out, what they can do about their kids right now. Think about, how many mothers and fathers that they used to get as they saw as a break, sending their children to school. Well, now they're having to be at home, and
Mm-hmm.
they have now they're seeing what they've always sent out the door and said, oh, the teachers, oh, they just being hard on my baby. Well, now they get to see that this child
Mm-hmm.
can't be even the more because they're not working all the time. Now they're at home. You know, what are some the tools that you have to give to them that are at home right now with their children that have ADHD? What can you give them to help them to be able to deal with this time where we're at home and not having that time away, if that makes sense? I'm gonna let
Oh
you.
yes, definitely, yes. One of the things what I always do with some of my some of the children I have, I try to use their creative outlets. I say to them, well, tell me, do you like to draw? You know, what do you like to draw? Sometimes I may have them do like a playlist, put together a playlist of songs that, may help them, calm down, so I do playlists. I even did homemade stress balls with my kids, and I tell you they loved it. I got some balloons, it was some Play-Doh, I had some scissors, and then I had them do stress balls to just kind of help them when they had times when they would feel kind of anxious or nervous through the stress balls. I do drawing. I would let them draw. I would even maybe allowing some physical exercise of some sort. I know they're in the home, but that gives them a chance to kind of get some of that bottled up energy out. So I definitely put that as about two or three things that parents can do, because the thing with when you have a child with ADHD, they just have so much energy, and when they're
So true.
doing things, it's
Mhm.
not because they necessarily want to annoy you, they just don't know how to properly channel it. And I
Exactly.
would say the other thing is you got to, that P word, patience. The
Oh
word of
yes.
God say that's a fruit of the spirit. And oh, when I tell you it is a fruit of the spirit, because God has
Come on
broken
now.
it. I said, Jesus,
Woo.
can we do this another way? He said,
Yes.
no. I said, okay. But I have them draw if that's what they like to do.
Right.
I do the playlist with them because they be like, I say, hey, we can do music therapy. They be like, okay. I say, now look, I got two rules with that though. It can't be no cussing music because we got parole officers and other folk walking through here. I said, no cussing, find some clean versions. We can work with it.
Yeah.
And you can tell me, hey, how does that make you feel? Or even if the parents may
Mhm.
have some board games that will include the child having to do jumping jacks. Because again, that's helping release the energy.
Yeah.
Because the thing is they just got bottled up energy. Or sometimes with girls, they may daydream. They could be looking
Right.
at you, and all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, you wave and they go, oh. And they just, because it could show up so very differently in boys versus girls. You got adults that,
Wow.
like I said, ADHD. I will go back to that. Jail's full of them because the
Hmm.
parents never quite understood what the issue was, and it just, you know, they started breaking in and doing all this other stuff. And I'm not saying there's not a level of accountability, but you got to
Right.
understand the
Right.
root of where the behavior's coming from.
Most
Is it
definitely.
is it
Most
attention
definitely.
seeking? Some of that stuff is
Hmm.
okay. They want attention, but I get what parents must be going through because they got to homeschool children now.
Come
And
on.
especially when you have children on medication, and if you have more than one, or you have a special needs, and then you have a child with ADHD. My middle
Yes.
godchild is special needs, and I walked with my
Mhm.
friend through that journey. And I remember many times I would, say, "Hey, I watch the kids. Go clear your head." And I bonded with my babies. They call me
Beautiful.
Nana Erica. When my
Hmm.
one of my
I'm a
middle ones,
nana too.
that's my daughter. When I would say, "Give me that iPad," she be talking about butt. I said, "Girl, I've been up since 10 a.m. this morning. We all go to sleep. I'm tired."
Okay, it's night
I
time.
said, "We gotta go to sleep." I walk back in the room. She like, I said, you're gonna be okay. 30 minutes later, I peeped in. Oh, she asleep. I said, okay, I knew she'd be okay. But I say that as an illustration that for
Right, right.
parents who have children with special needs, ADHD, that support, respite. Sometimes they call it that, to give them,
Hmm.
just a minute to think. Because I think also it's not just the children. You also, how do the parents keep themselves calm and de-stressed so they don't, so it doesn't get fueled further. You don't want to pour gasoline on
Wow.
top of a fire.
Mhm.
That's so true. This, like I said, this is really excellent. This is really good stuff. We got some
Yes.
really good material. I'm gonna some of the Elder Chisholm said, yes, work together. We need to always use sound wisdom when we're dealing with mental illness in our culture. Um, let's see. Lady Janelle, Queen Janelle Harris, thank you for tuning in. She said leadership plays an important part in this. Listening from Wheeler, Texas. It's Marianne McGinnis Smith. Hey, Marianne, sis. Okay, she said this is the truth. Janelle said we have to bring awareness in the church. That's so true. Yes, we have to teach sound doctrine, expose our members to both sides. So true. We have to understand this is all part of life happening. And Sister Janelle said, Erica, you're so amazing. And I agree. I'm in that. I
Yeah.
tell you, I'm just in awe. Um, Chisholm says, yes, the landscape is changing and is being accepted. Coming off, you're definitely coming off mute. She said, I support the show. Thank you so much, this Janelle Harris. We have to bring more awareness to social media. If we can bring the leadership tools to break down the process and bring the cultural habits, we won't get to the root. God knew you would pour your all into those children, so you have multiple children to love, which is such a blessing. That's
Amen.
Elder Chisholm said that.
Okay.
And then Kenya Green Williams says, yes, you must be spiritually protected. So I thank everybody that's tuned in and that's chiming
Yes.
in, that's commenting and interacting and everything. This has been really, really awesome. Now, and again, welcome to the Love Hour with Self. And the ones that are just tuning in, this
Mhm.
is Pastor Erica Fulton from Houston, Texas.
Yes.
And man, she's a triple threat. I mean, God has given her so many gifts and everything, but now we're going to shift a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about ADHD. We've talked about addiction and some of the type of things, a little bit about mental health and things like that. But now we're going to talk about relationship. Um, can you share with us the story of, you got married, you met from the
Yes.
time him, you married him, and just kind of what you guys went through. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna screen just on you so you can tell your story.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
come back in and talk to you about your story. Okay.
Okay.
All righty. Just a minute.
Okay. Yes. My husband and I met, and we met, I would say, around 2000. We dated 6 months, and we married shortly after that. When I think on my marriage, the one word that comes to my mind is I'm grateful, because I experienced a lot of growth. We had ups and we had downs. It was not a bed of roses. It was not always a cakewalk. But about 3 years into our marriage, I experienced infidelity in my marriage. And when I tell you, it was the most devastating, heartbreaking um, thing that I think I had yet experienced. And I was much younger back then. And what made it for me a harder pill to swallow, and I won't go into too much detail, but I witnessed the act of infidelity, and that in itself became a whole nother layer, and we had to peel through it. But again, to just
Wait a minute.
backtrack a little
Wait a
bit.
minute. I'm gonna pause you there. You said you witnessed infidelity. Can you tell us a little bit?
Yeah, what I mean is that I saw it. I happened that particular day. I'd had a very bad migraine, and I was gonna go to an open house over the weekend at St. Thomas because I was getting ready to transfer, and so I caught a bad migraine. I had to go back to my apartment, and so my friends had dropped me back there. And so I went upstairs, and I see my husband's car, and I'm like, why is his car home? So then I said, okay, I'm going up the stairs. And so I'm walking up my stairs and I open my door. I hear noises and I'm like, what in the world is going on? What the no what am I? I'm still it's still not clicking in my head. So I get near to my bedroom door and then I hear I clearly my husband's voice. And then I heard it was a friend we both knew. And this particular individual was staying in our home. And boy, when I flicked on my light, what I saw, I didn't even know. I could say so many emotions ran through me. And
Wow.
I look back on that day and I say, I know God had angels with me that day.
Come
I
on.
know he had.
Yes,
I
Lord.
know if nobody tells me, says Jesus is not real, I tell you, he was with me
Mm.
that day. He
Say
was
that.
with me. He was with me because yes, I was angry, I was upset, and I won't just go into all the particulars, but just
Right, right.
seeing that, and I'm gonna use a clinical word because of what happened for months. I didn't even want to go in my bedroom because it was like a trauma reminder to me. It was like the image kept replaying. And for a good minute, I would sleep in the front room and I would put my clothes in the bathroom. And I remember one of the ministers at the church I was at the time, she lovingly said to me, I get, this is how you're initially dealing with this. But she said, there's going to be some point at which you have to face this. You have to deal with this. And I wasn't even
Mhm.
a counselor at the time, but I did
Mhm.
have a pastor who she was very understanding for the both of us. She was very objective. She wasn't, just partial to me. She was willing to hear both sides. But at the time, I was working on my associate's degree. And I remember the
Wow.
morning after, I was up in class and I was crying, and my teacher said, I don't know what you're going through, but she said, whatever it is, she said, it will only make you stronger. And I looked at her like, what? This is not how I feel right now. I'm like, God, I don't even want to be in class. Could I like go somewhere and just cry? Like, I
Mm.
don't want to function. I don't want to get up. And then it's just, you got to rebuild trust. You got to rebuild ground
Yes.
zero. And
Wow.
so many questions ran through like, why didn't I listen to the warning I got? Because I'll never forget initially when she had asked, one of my church members said, don't do that. She said, I'm telling
Mm.
you, that's just God is saying no. But of course I was young. I was naive. But I guarantee you now at this stage in the game, let me get asked that question. I'd be like, oh no, I would drive you to Star Hope. I'll Uber you money. I'll even give you gas money.
Come on.
And now I'm single now, but and I look forward to remarriage, but looking forward in the future, I would do something different. But I just kind of go
Right.
back to that particular season briefly. It was hard for me because at some level I had to admit the truth that
Mhm.
nobody held a gun to his head.
Right.
He wasn't forced, and that's a hard pill to swallow. Because I could have easily said, well, it's her fault and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, 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 Erica. At some level, I know you don't want to say this out loud, but he was a willing participant. And then having
Yes.
to explore why, because I just say this, and now being a counselor, I can appreciate what God, how I can use that circumstance now of going through that and getting to a place of healing. But before we got
Wow.
to healing, there was some anger, and there was some crying, and there was some screaming, and there was a lot of times I just felt numb. And I was just like, I
Right.
can't believe this. I was like, and just wanting to blame and say, oh, if I should have just listened, but that wasn't going to change the particular circumstance. But
Right.
I thank God for my faith that really God really just kept me. He was with me. He held on to me, and he
My
helped me
Lord.
to be able to forgive, because in my book Empower, I'm one of the six co-authors. One of the things I talk about is I had to come to a point where I had to realize I wasn't judge and jury.
Come
That
on.
that I don't weigh in on the final verdict. And that was a hard pill to swallow, but God had to show me
Yeah,
that I'm not judging jury. I'm his daughter. And that if I did not release that anger and that hurt, it was gonna hurt
yes,
him really way more than it was. It would hurt me way more than it would hurt him. And I feel like
you know,
sometimes people,
sorry to interrupt you on this. I really, really want, someone posted, thank you for your transparency. It's going to help someone that may have experienced one of the pain of infidelity. And I know, because we've been inboxed and everything, there's a lot of people that's going through that and that's went through that. And I want to commend you, for coming on and coming off of mute and sharing your story. Because I know, and I would not even have asked the question if you wouldn't have approved the question. Let me
yeah,
say that. But that's not, always an easy thing. But what I thank God for and the way that God is none of our experiences are lost.
yeah,
You know what I'm
nothing's
saying? That
wasted.
He literally allowed you. Yes, you got the paperwork to go along with the process, but you had to go through some things to walk
Oh
in the
yeah,
walk in and to be able to witness to other women and men that guess what, you can make it through it. And what blessed me is that, like you said, you had to work through it. You could have went off like the stories we hear. You could have hurt both of them. You could have did a lot of things, but you walked through it and y'all reconciled. And
yes.
these are you have to go through. I know it's somebody listening that they may even be separated in their marriage. They may be getting ready to go through a divorce because they did not know how to deal with that. So I'm gonna let you really talk on that part, before
Yes.
the next part of what you experienced within your marriage. And then I want you to talk a little bit about your book after that. Okay?
Yes. Yes. And that was just such, an experience. And it was almost like my tears became my prayers. But one of the things that really helped me to get to a place of healing just within myself, I'm not even talking about my marriage, just healing within myself, um was just coming to a point of saying I have to love me enough to not hold on to this hurt and this pain, because if I hold on to it, I will self-destruct. And then if I self-destruct, I can't help anybody if I do that. And the other thing, I call it emotional honesty. I just had to be emotionally honest. I had to be honest with three people: myself, God, and my husband. No, I couldn't sugarcoat, how I felt. And I had to let myself feel. I didn't try to numb it out. I didn't try to self-medicate. I just had to feel it. But I believe that there was purpose in that. And I believe that, as you previously stated, with God, nothing is wasted. He will take
Yes.
every heartache, every tear, every single hard place of struggle you've ever dealt with. He will take it and just bring you through it. And as I stated, I was in school. So I was still thinking, okay, God, I need to be able to be coherent and finish this thing on through. How am I supposed to cope with it? How am I supposed to look at him in the morning and not be ruled by that same pain and betrayal? And I truly believe that my faith was one of the things that helped me in prayer. Prayer was a major tool for me. I believe that experience allowed me to just become closer to God. And I believe that was God showing me that He is a restorer. But again, I
Yes.
go back to emotional honesty, because when infidelity occurs, it's like nobody wants to deal with the elephant in the room.
Come
But
on.
you have to deal with that elephant in the room, or it's gonna deal with you. And when it deals with you, you will not like the way it does. I'm a I like to reference my blog sometimes. I had to deal with my inner world. I had to deal with all the anger. I had to deal with how I felt when I looked at him. But then on his side, it's like, look, 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 trust was broken. So the trust is not going to be way up here. This is starting from ground zero. So on his end, he had to be patient. We had to be patient with one another, I would say. But even just like I said, I didn't even tell my family what I was going through. I said no. I said I'm not going back home. I said I'm gonna deal with this. Now my flesh said, you can just chunk a deuce, go on back home, file for divorce. Because I had legal grounds, but I said no. No, I said, God, with me and you, I want to stay and I want to work through this. But I understood it was not going to be easy. I didn't say to
Yes.
myself, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk, and a month later, everything going to be back to normal. It wasn't the same. I thank God it was better. And then I had to say, okay, I had to make my expectations realistic. you know I had to be gentle with myself, and I couldn't
That's
throw it in his
good.
face when we got in the argument. I couldn't be like, well, do
Come
you
on.
remember? Well, no, because if I say I'm gonna forgive, I can't keep throwing it back in your face, if that, because that's incongruent. I'm
That's
telling
right.
you I forgive you, but I'm keeping it in my back pocket as a card in case you make me
Right.
mad, or you're not doing what I don't want you to do, or because I want to control the situation. We call it witchcraft. No, I wouldn't. I couldn't do that one. God was
That's
not going to
right.
allow me to operate in that kind of spirit. Not if I call myself a woman of God.
That's right.
And, I wouldn't. I said, no, I'm not going to go out here and do nothing crazy. Because, again, cheating, two wrongs don't make a right. Some
That's right.
folks say,
Come
well,
on.
heck, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Not so, because
That's
again,
right.
it
Come
would
on.
have made the situation worse.
Exactly.
I was already going through hurt. That was not going to undo what was done. But again,
Right.
I think with couples, anytime you go through that, you have to have you got to make sure you got to have a pastor that's going to just stick with the both of you, and walk with you through that. So I'm grateful at that time. I had my former pastor, and I still keep in contact with her today. But to go back a little bit, I remember I called her that day, and I picked up the phone and I said, Carolyn, and she said, honey, I already know. I said, Carolyn, she said, I get it. She said, you angry, So even from there, she was, just right there with me, and just, going through all of that. I just look back in retrospect and I say, man, when they say the blood still works, I say, yes, I know it still works, because I maintained my sanity. And that was
Yes,
hard. I mean,
most
I still had
definitely.
to go to school, still had to run the house, pay the bills. I couldn't put my life on pause because I was
Yes.
going through this. I still had to find a way to be functional in the middle of all this. And
Yes.
and like I said, I didn't tell my family for a while. I told them, I think, after we, reconciled and made it through. And they weren't upset or mad at him, anything like that. They
Right.
were very understanding. But to not tell them, and I've always been close to my family, that was rough. Because my
Well, you
son,
knew that if you told them, they would act a certain type of way with
yeah,
him if you decided to try to reconcile, and you did,
yeah,
decide to reconcile. Now,
yeah.
let me say this. We definitely gonna have to have you on for part two, because the story continues on. And I mean, there's so many valuable nuggets we want to ask you right now, huh? You gotta come back for part two,
Okay.
because we want to be able to share your whole story. You have a book. By then,
Yeah,
I have my book, and we'll be able to talk about the book a little bit more. So
yeah.
everybody that's listening in, because we're getting ready to wrap it up, but we want to give away a book tonight. And so everybody that's listening in, man, everything that you've shared has been so rich and so valuable. And we as marriage coaches and counselors, we counsel a lot of couples, and we deal with a lot of some of the same things that you deal with, especially when you're dealing with marriage and ones that are
Mm-hmm.
whole forgiveness, and they said, okay, I forgive you and I'm going to let you rebuild trust, but they never forgave. You know what I'm saying? They keep
Oh
bringing
no,
it.
yeah.
So these are things that we want to talk a little bit more about and go a little bit more in depth, but we're gonna need another hour for that.
Yeah.
This is some good stuff. But I want anybody that's listening in right now, the next person, mhm. Oh, okay. Yeah, let me put your book information up there because we're gonna talk about it the next time too. Can you show them a picture of your book? There you go. There you go.
I want to
Okay.
make sure I'm hold up. Let me make sure I got
Yes.
it. There we go.
There it is.
My
Yes.
face a little bit.
Empower. I'm putting it up here on the screen too because I think I put it typed. Yes, guys. So this is her book. How can they get your book? I already have one copy that I'm gonna, like I said, if the next person that types in a message that says gives us a comment, the next person that comments that I see the comment is gonna get a free book. Is gonna get this book. Show it one more time, sis.
Okay.
This is the book that you're gonna get. Who wants this book? The next person that types, I want it. I want it. Come on, we got viewers on there. I'm waiting. Okay, Marianne, you got a free book, mama. Yeah. Love this program. You just won a free book, Marianne Smith. Congratulations. I will be messaging you to get the information. Now everybody's is coming up now. Yeah, you got it already. You got it. Okay, so guys, y'all tune in again. Next week, we're going to give away another book on next week. So you guys tune in. Thank you so much. So much, Sister Erica. Will you be available next week, next Sunday?
Oh, yes, I will. Yes, I will. We can do this because I also want to talk about my grief. Talk about
most definitely.
That was a whole journey, a 13-year journey.
Yes, y'all hear that? She has to talk about grief, and that's a whole nother issue. So we're not gonna tell y'all everything because we want y'all to come back and get more of this. This is some good stuff. It has been an honor and a blessing. I'm just so blessed by you. It's just been wonderful. Honey, you got something you want to say?
No, I enjoyed you, and I thank you for being transparent and sharing with us.
Yes.
Spend time with us.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed being able to just pour out, and I'm just in a season of life where I feel like God is allowing me to now step into my territory.
Oh, you stepping.
So
yes, you stepping
in this place where he is even expanding my territory with the calmcorner.org. That's my website. If people want to go read my blogs, comment, I have grief articles.
What is it?
Homepage, the calmcorner.org.
The calm, CALM.
CALM, calmcorner.org.
.org. Y'all hear that, guys? So she has blogs on the calmcorner.org. So if you want to read the blog, she is a writer, honey. She is a writer, passionate writer. For real, for real. And so I'm excited. There's more that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the collaborations that she has going on and how God connected us. We are sisters in a project with the visionary, the connector, lady, sister, queen, Janelle Harris. Yes. She's the connector, and she connected us. And so we're excited about what God is doing. The Lord is blessed me to be able to step into my territory with the first book collaboration. And now she's in the second book collaboration, stepping into territory. So God is opening doors. He's doing some mighty things. You guys all stay tuned to next week. Yes. And Sister Erica, we want to thank you again. And we will see you on next Sunday. And let me tell y'all, I made a mistake on some of the flyers and put 6 o'clock. But there's 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we got it right now. And I will be updating the flyer for next week. Thank you again, sweetie, and Pastor Eric.
Yes, thank you.
All righty. You have a blessed night.
You.
All right.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, sweeties. So we're gonna sum it up. Now we got a few more minutes, guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in with us.
Thank you.
On the Love Hour. These are the types of shows that we're gonna be bringing on the Love Hour. Yes, we're gonna be talking to each other. Thank you for the book. You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Yeah, and so these are the types of things we're going to talk about. You guys can inbox us this page right here, the Love Hour with Self. If topics that you want to talk about, things that y'all you may be going through. That's what we're here for. We want to talk about these type of issues. We want to keep it 100. We want to be tangible so you can touch us, because we too understand in life you go through different things, and we can't make it through this life by ourselves. So we thank y'all so much for tuning in.
Yes, if you
want to say something,
you got a question you want to bring on the show and don't want your name mentioned, we won't mention it. We'll just ask the question.
We'll do anonymous questions. We don't just inbox us if it's something specific you're going through in your marriage or your relationship and you need answers. You can just inbox us and we will just ask the questions on the show and we will discuss them, because that's what it's all about. Thank you so much. Sister Kenya, I think is it Kenya?
Yeah.
She said she enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for being on the show, being in with us on the show, tuning in rather.
Mm-hmm.
I get so excited. We love you. We love y'all too.
Sis and bro.
Yes, we love y'all too. And like I said, we will be here same time on next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
The Love Hour with Self. Starting up already. Anyways, y'all know what we do right now. Get those 2 fingers, put them on your pulse. And remember, as long as you have a pulse,
you got a purpose.
So as long as you got a pulse, like you say, you got a purpose. We love you. If no one has told you this week, this month, this year that they love you, we do. Self-love you. Y'all have a blessed night and know that we're praying for you and we love you and we need you to survive. Y'all have a blessed night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello.